My name is Amelia Reed. For most of my 29 years, I've considered myself a quiet observer, someone who finds more comfort in the neat columns of a spreadsheet than in the unpredictable currents of a crowded room. I live in Port Blossom, a city that hugs the coastline, where the air often carries the scent of salt and damp pine, a blend I've always found grounding. My apartment, a modest one-bedroom I bought 2 years ago, is my sanctuary. Every piece of furniture, every book on its shelf, was chosen with care and paid for with savings I meticulously cultivated. It's a life I built for myself, brick by quiet, deliberate brick, a fortress against a world that often felt too loud. I try not to fidget as my mother, Catherine, slides the pot roast platter toward me. The familiar scent of rosemary and garlic, a scent that should spell comfort, momentarily masks the tension in the air. My simple navy blue pantsuit, professional and unassuming, feels suddenly inadequate next to my sister Olivia's flowing maternity dress. Its delicate wildflower pattern perfectly highlights the gentle curve of her 7-month baby bump, a constant, glowing centerpiece in every room she enters. "More potatoes, Amelia?" Mom asks, her voice bright and brittle. She's already scooping a generous portion onto my plate before I can answer, an act of performative mothering I've known my whole life. "Thanks," I mutter, catching my father's approving nod from his throne at the head of the table. Harrison Reed, a man who commands every room he enters, presides over Sunday dinner like a king over his court. Olivia's husband, Liam, keeps his eyes fixed on his plate, methodically cutting his meat into perfect, even squares. He hasn't looked at me once since I arrived, which is strange. Liam is usually the family's gentle buffer, the one who asks about my work with genuine interest. Something is off tonight. So, Mom begins with a too casual tone that immediately sets off alarm bells in the carefully ordered world of my mind. "Barbara from my book club mentioned your team landed the big Northwind account." I freeze mid-bite, the forkful of potato hovering before my lips. "How do you know Barbara?" "Oh, she's a friend of Sharon's." "You know Sharon, from the yacht club." Mom waves her hand dismissively, as if the connections between everyone in her social sphere are as natural and preordained as the tides. "She mentioned you received quite a substantial bonus. $20,000. We're so proud of you, honey." The pot roast, so tender a moment ago, turns to sawdust in my mouth. I never told them about my bonus. Not the exact amount. That information was private, a small, fiercely guarded victory after 3 years of 60-hour work weeks, of missed vacations and lunches eaten at my desk. It was my validation, tangible proof that my quiet diligence had value. "That's..." I start, but Dad cuts me off. "Perfect timing," he announces, setting down his fork with a clink that silences the table. The finality in his tone is unmistakable. Amelia will be sponsoring Olivia's baby shower. My fork clatters against my plate. Time seems to stop, to warp around his words as they hang in the air between us, heavy and immutable. I look from Dad's expectant face to Mom's pleased, knowing smile, to Olivia's expressiona mask of grateful surprise that barely conceals a flicker of smug satisfaction. "What?" The word comes out as a whisper, swallowed by the sudden ringing in my ears. "It's so generous of you," Olivia gushes, placing a hand on her rounded belly as if to shield her unborn child with my presumed charity. "Liam and I have been so worried about giving this baby the welcome she deserves." I stare at my sister, my mind flashing back to a sun-drenched summer day 2 decades ago. 8-year-old me, nose pressed against the cool glass of the living room window, watching as a dozen little girls in frilly party dresses twirled through our backyard. Pink and gold streamers hung from every tree branch. A professional magician pulled a rabbit from a hat while a photographer captured every joyful moment of Olivia's 10th birthday extravaganza. 2 months later, on my birthday, Mom had ordered a small pepperoni pizza. "Finish your homework before we eat," Dad had insisted, barely looking up from his financial paper. There was no party, no friends, just a single, waxy candle stuck in a slice of pizza and a new, sensible pair of school shoes as my gift. "We need to save," they'd explained when I'd asked why Olivia got ballet lessons while I stayed home to read. Why Olivia got braces that straightened her perfect smile while I learned to smile with my lips closed to hide a slightly crooked incisor. Why Olivia got a convertible for her high school graduation while I took the bus to my part-time job, saving every penny for the future they said I'd need to build for myself. They were right about that, at least. I had built it. All of it. The Crystal Pavilion at Seabrook Manor has the most beautiful package, Dad continues, misinterpreting my stunned silence as agreement. He's already in planning mode, his voice a businesslike boom. 12,000 covers everything. Catering for 50 guests, the floral arrangements, a photographer, the works. All the trimmings. All the trimmings. My fingers tighten around my fork until my knuckles are white. $12,000. More than half of my bonus, vanishing before I've even decided what to do with it. That money wasn't just a number on a bank statement, it represented hundreds of late nights, thousands of small, unseen sacrifices. It was my down payment on a larger future, a future I was building alone. Look at these photos, Olivia says, sliding her phone across the polished mahogany table. Isn't it beautiful? We've already picked out the color scheme lavender and cream. I glance up from the phone's glowing screen to see Liam shift uncomfortably in his chair. There's something in his expression, a flicker of guilt, that tells me he's not entirely comfortable with this ambush either. He knows what I earn. He knows what that kind of money means to me. I haven't agreed to anything, I say finally, my voice sounding distant and hollow even to my own ears. Mom laughs lightly, a sound like wind chimes in a gathering storm. Don't be silly, Amelia. Of course, you'll do this for your sister. Family comes first. The drive home is a blur of streetlights smeared across my rain-streaked windshield. My knuckles are bone-white against the steering wheel. The rain starts to fall harder, pattering against the glass in a frantic rhythm that matches my racing thoughts. I park in my designated spot in front of my apartment building, small, unassuming, but mine, bought with years of careful saving while my colleagues upgraded to luxury rentals downtown. Inside, I kick off my shoes and sink onto my gray velvet sofa, the one splurge I allowed myself when I moved in. The silence of my own space is a balm, but tonight it feels heavy, charged with unspoken resentments. A notification pings from my phone, the sound sharp and accusatory. With trembling fingers, I open the social media app one rarely use. Olivia's post is already there, gathering likes and effusive comments. A professionally lit photo of her and Liam, hands cradling her belly, is captioned, "So blessed to announce that my amazing, generous sister Amelia is throwing us the baby shower of our dreams at the Crystal Pavilion. She's going to be the best aunt ever." Family love baby shower Bastantover comments flood in beneath it. Congratulations. How incredibly generous, Amelia. What a wonderful sister. I stare at the screen, a cold, hard realization settling in my stomach. They've built a cage of public expectation around me, and I'm the one who will look cruel and selfish if I try to break free. They haven't just asked me for money, they've written a story with a role they've already cast me in. The supportive sister. The family ATM. Just like always. The next morning, the phone rings at precisely 7:30 a.m., just as I'm stepping out of the shower. I already know who it is before checking the caller ID. Her timing is as predictable as the sunrise. "Hi, Mom," I answer, tucking the phone between my ear and shoulder while I towel dry my hair. "Just checking in, sweetheart," she chirps, her voice honeyed with a false casualness that makes my teeth ache. "Did you sleep well?" "Fine," I lie. My night was a long, restless tumble of calculations, staring at the ceiling and translating $12,000 into the currency of my own life. It represented 480 hours of overtime. 68-hour days. 3 full months of my life, gone. Good. I was thinking about the shower menu. The pavilion offers both a brunch and an afternoon tea option. She pauses, clearly waiting for me to chime in with enthusiasm. When none comes, she adds, Olivia is leaning toward the tea sandwiches, but with her low iron, she really needs the protein from the brunch option. It's a little more expensive, but for the baby's health. I say nothing, watching the water droplets race each other down my bathroom mirror. My reflection looks pale and tired. Amelia, are you listening? I haven't agreed to this, Mom. Her laugh tinkles through the phone, a sound like breaking glass. Don't be difficult, dear. It's all settled. In fact, your father is stopping by your office today with the brochures from the venue. He wants to make sure you see exactly what you're paying for. The call ends before I can protest. I grip the edge of the sink, my knuckles whitening as I stare at my reflection. The woman looking back at me appears calm, controlled, the mask I've perfected since childhood. Inside, a storm is raging. At work, I'm trying to lose myself in quarterly projections when my colleague Zara pokes her head into my office. Someone's here to see you, she says, an amused quirk to her lips. Your dad. My stomach tightens into a familiar knot. Thanks, Zara. Dad stands in the reception area, his golf tan making his teeth appear unnaturally white when he smiles. Under his arm, a sleek leather portfolio bulges with what I know are the promised brochures. He looks completely at home in the polished corporate environment of Sterling Grove Financial, a world I worked so hard to enter on my own merit. Busy day, he asks, settling into the chair opposite my desk without waiting for an invitation, as if my office is merely an extension of his own domain. Always. He slides the portfolio across my desk like he's closing a business deal. Your mother and I took the liberty of narrowing down the options. No need for you to get bogged down in the details. Inside are glossy photos of the Crystal Pavilion draped in various pastel fabrics, elaborate floral centerpieces, and custom-printed napkins. Paper-clipped to the final page is an itemized invoice for $12,000, with my name already typed into the billed to field. You've already done the consultation, I say, the statement flat, devoid of emotion. Naturally. The venue books up months in advance. These premier packages move fast. He taps a manicured finger on the invoice. The deposit deadline is October 15th. $3,000. That's 3 weeks from now. I see. Correct. He stands, straightening his crisp golf shirt. Olivia is very excited. She's calling it her daughter's first party. After he leaves, Zara finds me staring blankly at my computer screen. Everything okay? She asks gently, placing a steaming mug of coffee on my desk. You look like you've seen a ghost. My family, I say, the words feeling like stones in my mouth. They expect me to spend $12,000 of my bonus on my sister's baby shower. Zara's perfectly shaped eyebrows shoot up. 12,000? For the same sister who posted that ridiculously tone-deaf engagement photo shoot on a yacht last year? I nod, the memory stinging. Olivia had captioned those photos, "Some girls just get all the love." The unspoken comparison, the implication that I hadn't, had been clear to everyone, most of all me. That's insane, Amelia, Zara says, her voice firm. You have to tell them no. I wish it were that simple. They've already announced it online, made appointments, selected a venue. Zara perches on the edge of my desk, her expression serious. So? That's their problem, not yours. Her words hang in the air between us, a foreign concept I can barely grasp. For my entire life, their problems have been my problems, their needs my responsibility. The idea that I could simply refuse to accept ownership was as radical as suggesting I could fly. That evening, I find a cream-colored envelope in my mailbox. The elegant, looping script is unmistakably Olivia's. Inside is a handwritten note accompanied by a grainy, black and white sonogram picture. Baby girl already loves her Auntie Amelia. We're so blessed you're giving her the grand welcome she deserves. P.S. The pavilion needs your credit card information for the deposit. Mom said you wouldn't mind if we use the one they have on file from Dad's birthday dinner. Love you. My phone pings with a text from my cousin. So excited for Olivia's shower. My flight lands at 2 p.m. that Saturday. Can you pick me up, or should I just Uber to the venue? The walls of my small, safe apartment suddenly feel like they're closing in. I realize with a sickening lurch how thoroughly they've woven this web, each thread a text, a call, a public post, pulling me tighter into their plan. Another ping. A private message from Liam. I'm sorry about all this, Amelia. I tried to suggest something smaller, but you know how Olivia gets when she has her heart set on something. And with your parents backing her. Please, help us this once for the sake of family harmony. I promise I'll make it up to you. The next morning, a sharp knock at my door reveals my mother holding a small, pristine white bakery box tied with a lavender ribbon. I brought breakfast, she announces, breezing past me into my apartment before I can react. She places the box on my coffee table and opens it with a flourish. Inside sits a single, perfect slice of 4-layer vanilla bean cake from Belle Patisserie, the city's most exclusive and expensive bakery, the one that catered all of Olivia's childhood celebrations. I was there for a tasting for the shower cake, she says, naming the $500 creation they had apparently already selected. But I thought you might like a sample. She hands me a small, silver fork. The cake looks exactly like the one from Olivia's 10th birthday, the party I watched through the window. For adults, a small slice is enough, Mom says, her eyes fixed on me as I take a tentative bite. Children, they deserve the whole big cake, don't you think? The vanilla and buttercream, meant to be sweet, turn to ash in my mouth as the memories surface. Olivia blowing out 10 candles on a magnificent cake while I got a single candle in a cupcake. Olivia unwrapping a mountain of gifts while I received my one practical present. Olivia's dreams nurtured and funded while mine were deemed impractical extravagances. It's delicious, I lie, my voice thick. After she leaves, I sink onto my sofa, the remainder of the perfect cake slice sitting untouched on my coffee table. A single tear slips down my cheek, then another, as I realize with a profound and aching clarity that I'm still that little girl with her nose pressed against the glass, watching someone else's celebration from the outside, always on the periphery of my own family's joy. My phone rings. It's my therapist, Dr. Gupta, returning the urgent call I'd placed that morning before my mother arrived. Tell me what's happening, Amelia, Dr. Gupta says, her voice a calm anchor in my swirling sea of confusion. The words pour out of meth dinner ambush, the invoice, the credit card, the social media announcements, the cake. As I speak, the scattered, painful pieces of my life begin to form a pattern I've never fully allowed myself to see. They've always done this, I whisper into the phone, the realization both devastating and oddly freeing. They've always expected me to be the provider, the sensible one, while Olivia gets to be the celebrated one. And what do you want to do about it? Dr. Gupta asks gently. I glance at the calendar on my wall, where the 15th of October looms in bright red ink, the deposit deadline. The date when I will either surrender my hard-earned bonus and my self-respect, or finally, for the first time in my life, stand my ground. I don't know yet, I admit, my voice trembling. But for the first time, I allow myself to imagine the shape of the word no on my lips. That night, as hourly texts from Olivia light up my phone with shower color schemes and guest list additions, I lie awake, reviewing my life of acquiescence. Each time I gave in, each yes that should have been a no. Each sacrifice that went unnoticed while Olivia's smallest accomplishments were celebrated with fanfare. As dawn breaks over Port Blossom, casting a pale, determined light into my room, I realize this isn't just about money. It's about my worth. And for once, I need to be the one who values it first. Olivia's latest Instagram post appears on my phone screen at 6:12 a.m., jolting me awake better than any alarm. Her perfectly filtered ultrasound photo is captioned, counting down the days until the big celebration. Auntie Amelia's special gift is going to make this day unforgettable. Blessed family, generous aunt. I stare at the ceiling, counting the hairline cracks I've memorized over countless sleepless nights. 47 comments already, each one another brick in the prison they're building around me. At work later that morning, my phone buzzes again. It's a text from Zara. Did your mom just call the main office line asking for my help with surprise elements for a baby shower? The betrayal burns, fresh and sharp. They're no longer just pressuring me, they're infiltrating my professional life, co-opting my friends, drawing everyone into their narrative. The morning crawls by in a fog of spreadsheets and client calls that I can barely focus on. At lunch, my boss, Rachel, stops by my desk, a crease of concern on her forehead. Harrison Reed was in the lobby earlier, she says quietly. Said he needed to drop something off for you. Mentioned something to his golf buddy, our CFO, about your generous family commitment. Everything okay, Amelia? My stomach twists. She slides a glossy Seabrook Manor brochure across my desk. Someone has helpfully circled the most expensive package in red marker. Family stuff, I mutter, shoving it into my drawer. Nothing important. Back in my apartment that evening, a strange resolve settles over me. I pull out the bottom drawer of my filing cabinet. Beneath tax returns and insurance policies lies a simple manila folder. Inside is the deed to my apartment. I trace my signature on the document. 2 years ago, the down payment represented 1,842 hours of overtime. It was weekends spent working while Olivia was posting beach vacation photos from the Caribbean. It was holidays spent alone with microwave dinners while they all gathered at my parents' house without me. It's too small, Mom had said when she first visited. Why not rent something nicer in the meantime? Such a waste to buy before you're settled with a family, Dad had added, not bothering to hide his disappointment. They never saw the hours, only the outcome, which they immediately deemed insufficient. I pull out my work calculator. $12,000. How many skipped lunches? How many postponed dentist appointments? How many times had I told myself, next year, I'll take a real vacation? My fingers find a small, faded photograph tucked into the folder's pocket. It's me on my 25th birthday, standing alone in the tiny kitchen of my old rental. A whole chocolate cake with thick frosting sits before me, the first entire cake I'd ever bought just for myself. No slices, no sharing. All mine. Mom had called that night. At your age, I was raising a family, not playing house alone, she'd said, her words slicing through my small moment of joy. I'd cut only a tiny sliver of the cake after we hung up. Old habits die hard. The next morning, Rachel calls me into her office. I expect questions about the Northwind account, but instead, she gestures to the chair across from her and closes the door. My sister tried the same thing when I got my first big promotion, she says without preamble. Suddenly, my nephew's private school tuition became my responsibility. My face burns with a mixture of shame and relief. Family sometimes thinks your money belongs to them because they raised you, she continues, leaning forward. But you made yourself, Amelia. That bonus. You earned every penny of it through work they never saw and wouldn't understand. Her words follow me through the day, echoing in my mind as I push open the door to the Willow Creek Bistro, where Mom and Olivia have summoned me for an urgent planning session. They've already claimed a corner table, fabric swatches and ribbon samples spread across the surface like battle plans. We've narrowed it down to sage green with gold accents, Olivia announces as I slide into the chair, not even bothering with a hello. The calligrapher needs the final guest count by Friday. Mom pushes a sample invitation toward me. My name is printed at the top in elegant script. You are joyfully invited to a baby shower in honor of Olivia Reed, hosted by her sister, Amelia Reed. A price list for the calligrapher is clipped to the back. I stare at the delicate, expensive paper, feeling the walls closing in again. The web they've spun is so careful, so complete, each thread another expectation, another assumption of my compliance. Did you ever, I begin, my voice quiet but clear, consider what I might want to do with my bonus? They both freeze. Olivia looks at Mom, a flicker of panic in her eyes. Mom recovers first with a practiced, indulgent laugh. Don't be silly, honey. What would you need it for? You don't have children to support or a mortgage on a big house. The simple, brutal truth of it hangs in the air between us. In their eyes, my life is a blank slate, my resources unallocated. My value is measured only in what I can provide for them. I'm going to use the restroom, I say, standing abruptly. Instead, I walk straight past the restrooms and out the bistro's front door, ignoring their surprised calls behind me. For the first time in my life, I leave them mid-sentence. Back at my apartment, Zara helps me draft responses to the barrage of texts from relatives who are now being enlisted in the pressure campaign. Keep it simple, she advises. No justifications, no arguments, no explanations. Just, I won't be hosting the shower. On repeat. My next session with Dr. Gupta involves role-playing the confrontation scenarios that terrify me most. What's the worst that could happen if they're angry, she asks. They'll cut me off, I whisper, the old fear surfacing. And what would that actually mean, in practice? I blink, realizing I've never truly examined this fear. They rarely call except to ask for something. Holidays are obligations filled with thinly veiled criticism of my single status and my small apartment. When was the last time any of them asked about my life, my hopes, my fears? On Saturday evening, a knock at my door reveals Olivia, her eyes puffy and red from what I suspect are strategic tears. But she's not alone. My next-door neighbor, Mr. Davies, a kind widower, is out in the hallway, watering the shared potted ferns. Everything okay, Amelia, he calls out, his tone casual but his stance unmistakably protective. Just a family visit, Mr. Davies, I say, giving him a small, grateful smile. I let Olivia in but leave the door wide open. Her attempted emotional ambush turns into an awkward 15 minutes of stilted small talk before she leaves, her mission unaccomplished. On Sunday morning, I walk into Belle Patisserie with a photo on my phone, the ornate, multi-tiered castle cake from Olivia's 10th birthday party, right down to the delicate sugar flowers and miniature drawbridge. Can you recreate this? I ask the baker. But make it small. Just for one person. That evening, I sit at my small kitchen table. The cake, an exact, miniature replica of Olivia's childhood masterpiece, gleams under my apartment lights. I slice a generous piece, the knife gliding effortlessly through layers of vanilla sponge and raspberry filling. The first bite dissolves on my tongue, pure, uncomplicated sweetness. I close my eyes, savoring it without a trace of guilt or obligation. I take a photo of the cake with my single, large slice prominently displayed. For a moment, my finger hovers over the share button, a flash of vengeful satisfaction running through me. Then, I lower my hand and save the photo to a private album on my phone instead. This moment, this victory, belongs to me alone. My phone pings with another long, pleading message from Mom. I turn it face down on the counter without reading it. The truth settles around me, as substantial as the walls of my small apartment, as sturdy as the deed in my filing cabinet. I've spent a lifetime accepting crumbs from their table, believing I deserved nothing more. But I built this fortress myself, brick by brick. And within these walls, I make the rules. I cut another slice of cake, even larger than the first.